Welcome, beloved hearts, into the loving embrace of the divine. I would like to invite you to bring your awareness to your heart, where we can truly connect as one. I am Katrina Armstrong, and I stand before you today as a testament to the power of the divine. I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, all of which has birthed the alchemical movement that is Divinity in Action, that I am ecstatic to share with you here. Allow us to guide you through the wisdom of our esteemed leaders and uncover the secrets of the universe to unlock your true potential, as I had done in my life when I embraced the Christ consciousness and ascended into higher expressions of my soul potential. I'll share with you the teachings and wisdom that have helped me to transcend from my earthly bounds and realize the true expression of my soul. I'll be joined by some of the most compassionate and authentic spiritual leaders worldwide who also experience divinity in action. Allow us to share our insights and experiences. I invite you to join me on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. Together we'll break free from past programming and conditioning and fully embrace our true selves. Join me in welcoming Dipal Shah. She is an internationally acclaimed self-care expert and medical intuitive. She has one mission: to help women heal their past and strengthen the powerful intuition within themselves. She wants to see women take charge of their health and lead them to a better life. A recognized expert in the field of energy medicine, Dipal created the quantum body awakening technique, leading thousands of women all over 92 countries to escape painful chronic health conditions where Western medicine failed. Dipal's unique gifts created profound shifts for her clients, from finding boundless energy to experiencing life with increased purpose and inspiration. Through her company, Ananda for Life, Dipal has served celebrities, thought leaders, and healthcare practitioners, leading them to find joy and decrease suffering through her blend of practices. Featured in Authority magazine, on the cover of Brains magazine, and Best Holistic Life magazine, Thrive Global magazine, The List TV show, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, Dipal is frequently called upon to share her messages on mass media platforms, along with summits and podcasts. She believes that everyone has the chance to connect with their inner power if they slow down, listen, and trust. Hello, beloved hearts, and welcome back. I am so honored, excited, and really feeling this deep place of already being seen in Dipal's energy field. I'm feeling this depth and this richness that is already translating, that's moving through for each one of you. So I would recommend coming in right now, just taking a few breaths. We're going to be opening, and she is bringing us this Empath Intuitive Gifts Unleashed. So this opportunity to understand the gifts of being an empath. And I know there's so many here that are sensitive beings, that are empaths. So I would love to begin by understanding, what is an empath for you? How do you define an empath?
Yeah, so by definition, when I looked it up, it said an empath is a highly attuned person to other people's feelings and emotions around them. And when I really tune into an empath, and when I started discovering how have I been an empath as a child, and how has that trailed through adulthood? And I not only discovered that it's feelings and emotions, it's a lot deeper. And when we look at it, it's beliefs. They get attuned and take on energies of other people claiming to be theirs. So empaths are highly, highly sensitive to everything around them, to where they feel it so deeply. and they believe it to be theirs. That's how I define it.
Wow. Wow. I know myself, I identify as being empathic, and just imagining if we are this sensitive and we're taking on everything that is around us, how does that affect our body? How does that affect our mind?
Well, for me, being a medical intuitive, I see it every single day in every single client.
Wow.
Yeah. So here's the thing, that 90% of our emotions are repressed. We have these emotions that come up every second. Do we always recognize them? Whether we're happy, we're sad, we're angry. When the emotion is at its peak, that's when we recognize it and we're like, oh, we need to do something about it. And sometimes we don't do something about it. Right. So when we don't do something about it, that's when it accelerates for us. And when it accelerates, being an empath, you're going to react differently than anyone else. Okay. You might hide away. You might recognize that you just can't talk to people. Like for me, I can't talk to people for like 12 hours. Like if I get into an argument with my husband about something that has really hurt me, I'm like, okay, I just can't talk to you for like 12 hours. Just give me my time. I need to process, because that's what empaths need to do. They need time to process, but they need to figure out what is theirs and what is somebody else's. And so the thing is that, how do you know you're empathic, right? How do we know? What I recognized is that children nowadays that are being born coming into this next generation, especially about one generation ago, at least, I recognize that they are more sensitive and more empathic. Not only are they smarter, but they are very empathic. And a lot of parents don't know how to handle that. And so when doctors are telling you your child has ADHD or has all these different things, yeah, being an empath, it takes a toll on the body, on the mind, on the energy systems. So if you as a parent would just find out even a little bit how to help your child, right, from these energies that they cannot take, these 5D, all this technology, Wi-Fi, our environment, we have to understand that how is our environment affecting our kids and affecting us, right? We're socializing a lot more. And especially after COVID, right? We went from this isolation to now socializing. And so can it have on you, your child? Yeah. And people are realizing, even people, our age, when I'm 47, and you don't realize it. But after COVID, I think a lot more people became empathic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you're speaking and you're talking about the children that are coming in, I think that's definitely something that I'm hearing a lot. I'm hearing a lot from parents that are like, whoa, I don't feel equipped for this. I don't know what this is. And I'm curious, when you're working with adults, is it in your medical intuitive work, are you finding a lot of connections into the child within them?
So when it comes to connection with the child, do you mean in terms of their empathic abilities?
Yeah, in terms of like adults, like their inner children, is there any?
There is a huge connection between the inner child as well as the adult self, right? The things that you experienced as a child, and empaths were never seen to have superpowers or really taken care of. They were always called, oh, you're just too sensitive, right? Don't stop crying or don't get angry, right? And it's so important for empaths to express their emotions. It's important for anybody to express their emotion, but especially empaths, because they hold on, and that becomes eventually inflammation in the body, because what the body does is the mind thinks of it as stress. And so then when the person is put in the similar type of situations as an adult, they remember what they were told as a child. What you're told as a child becomes this program that you carry forward as an adult. And so anytime you're put in these similar situations, it's going to trigger that same program and you're going to react the same way. Mm-hmm. You're going to buckle down. You're going to go into fight or flight. And that's going to create a stress response in the body. And everything happens through the nervous system, right? Nervous system is the brain and the spine. We have so many nerves branching off that if any one of them get blocked, it starts creating blocks within the systems, within the organs, within the channels, within the body, even because there's physical and invisible channel within the body. So when these get blocked, this is when you're going to see this domino effect of problems within the body. For instance, like for me as a child, my parents were very, very strict, and I grew up in an Indian culture. And so they're very conservative. Okay, we can't date, we can't talk to boys. So high school was very, very tough for me. And as a child, though, growing up, my parents really weren't there, but they tried to be there. We didn't do a lot of things together because my parents didn't have the money. They were trying to make ends meet and working day, night jobs, whatever they had to do to support us. And what happens is that we take these experiences, right? And for me, I had to raise my brother. So I had to grow up quickly. I was the oldest child. I had to learn to cook. At the age of 10, I was cooking meals for the family because somebody had to cook for my dad because my mom would work night jobs. But I could literally see myself. I could hear things. I could, I was empathic, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that was. My parents did not have time. And so some of the experiences I had, even in school, being bullied, I couldn't go to my parents and tell them that. A lot of the experiences as a child, we carry it forward. And even as an adult, have I been bullied? Yeah. And did I go into the same programming that I did and try to run away? Sure, I did. But when we start to recognize that this is an inner child wound that we're still holding on to, and we start to heal that inner child and say, you know what, you're going to be just fine. It's time for you to speak up. It's time for you to create boundaries. It's time for you to be strong. This is when things start to shift. And we as empaths have to start shifting what has happened to us since childhood, because those were different experiences. We were vulnerable. We were left to, we didn't have any power. And now we do. We just have to hone in on that power. And being an empath is actually your superpower. So don't forget that.
Wow, Dipal, I'm realizing I have similarities, in our childhood, even having to grow up too fast. And as I look at, my own childhood, and I'm certain that everyone here can relate on some level of things that are happening in their childhood when we're this sensitive and how those do play out. And sometimes we're not even aware of it. So I'm curious, how do we shift that? How do we heal ourselves?
So one of the things is definitely discern what's yours and what's not yours, right? We claim a lot of everyone else's energies. Even as a child, maybe you took on the fear of your parents. You took on the beliefs of your parents. So you have to really recognize what is mine and what is not, because I had to do that. When I started learning all these different modalities of energy healing, because for me, I was a pharmaceutical rep. I had no idea what energy was until I quit my job. I was home for 2 years with my children because they were very young. And my youngest one is the one who started getting me to look at these different energies out in nature. And then I was like, oh, well, what is this? And I got really intrigued. And then one of the teachers was hosting a crystal class and a Reiki class. And I just became more and more intrigued. And so I'm like, wow, this feels so magical and mystical. And how can I tap into this? Because we all have these abilities that we don't know that what we can tap into and where our power lies. So let me tell you this, in order to be that empath on this 3D planet, make sure that you, number one, like I said, discern what's yours and what's not yours. Number two, boundaries. Boundaries are so difficult. We're like, oh, I just want to help them, or I just want to do it. We're such givers, right? And we've been told as a child that you give and that it's not good to receive. You shouldn't take anything from anybody, right? So these are just childhood programs, and I had to work through each of my beliefs to kind of dissolve these things so that I could be the person and figure out who I am, what I believe. I mean, even now, my mom will throw beliefs at me and I'm like, Mom, that is your belief. That is not mine. And I have to say that out loud to her. And of course, she'll be upset about it. But this is how I know that I've got my power back. And I
Yeah.
want you to get your power back, right? So when you notice yourself that you're worrying and stressing all the time, it's because you're an empath. There's something called sensory discomfort, and empaths tend to experience this quite a bit. And it's when you find yourself emotionally charged or where you get so overwhelmed that what I found is that when I work with my clients, they're like, I don't want to be here. And they go down this rabbit hole of sadness, anxiety, and depression. And so recognize that you have this sensory. So when you go like into social settings, where do you feel overwhelmed? When do you feel overwhelmed? We have to take that time to recognize what bothers us the most. Like, where do we feel the stress coming on? Where do we get uncomfortable? And then we have to tap into that. The more you do that and practice these little steps one at a time, you're going to recognize that you can actually handle your environment and you're not so sensitive. Okay. And that's the key. Like for me, I remember when I was studying Reiki and I was tuning into my abilities, I would go into the mall and honestly, I would just flush. Like I would get so red. I look like a tomato walking through the mall
Oh
because
my goodness.
I take everybody's energy. Yeah. And one Thanksgiving, I remember my sister-in-law had come and she wanted to get something from Pandora for her daughter. And I walk in the mall and I go into the store. It's literally just a few steps in through the door of this mall. And I go in and I'm getting hot and I'm getting hotter. And I said, I need to step out. And so I step out and I'm like, ooh, and I have to figure out like, how can I calm myself down? Right. And so you take the steps that you need to take in order to bring your energies back. But I didn't go to the mall for 3 years because I was having problems going outside of my house in big settings like that or social settings. I would get so flushed that I couldn't take on. Like it was like my insides were boiling. And so finally, with the tools and techniques that I finally started teaching that I had learned, and now that I teach in my Quantum Body Awakening course, is how to be the empath in this 3D plane, but yet still raise your vibration and reach that transcendence and consciousness and that present moment and mindful, how to be mindful with the tools and techniques that I share.
Wow, I can really relate to this. Getting flushed and not understanding why.
No, I
Like,
had no idea. I mean, I would
yeah,
ask my teacher, like, why is this happening? And they're like,
it's
some
like,
people get flushed, some people cough, some people cry. I mean, I guess people react differently,
uh,
right? And we have to recognize what is our different and how can we work with that?
yeah. So it's sounding, being an empath can easily be seen as a curse. It's like, why?
You know
Why is
what? It's funny you say that because a lot of my empaths think that is this a curse? Like they just don't like it and they've isolated themselves in their homes. And so they loved it when COVID hit, right? But it's really not a curse. It's a beautiful superpower. And when you have the tools and techniques and profound, like you will have profound awakenings within yourself as to how to handle your own energies and how to discern it from everything and everyone else. And you will feel the sense of peace and freedom that you have never felt before. That's how powerful these tools and techniques in my program are. And so I love teaching it.
Yeah. So for those of us that are tuning in right now for Divinity in Action, I wonder, is there any techniques or tools that you can share with us that are simple enough that we can begin to even become aware of, like these patterns of our boundaries or this way of how our body's responding? How do we even know? How do we know what it is that's causing it? I know for me, I was labeled like having anxiety, right? Like, oh, well, you need medication, right? Or, oh, you're just depressed. And that's what you were sharing is they go through that kind of spiral, down into depression. So is there anything you can share today that would help us, kind of understand where we're at and how to start, making those choices that will help us
Yes. So I definitely have a technique that you could do right now, which I will share with you. But I do want you to understand that as an empath, you're very intuitive. And that's why you feel everything. That's why you know a lot of more information than a layperson who is not that intuitive. Okay. So recognize that you have 8 intuitive senses. And, I don't want to go into each and every one of them, but we know that we can taste and smell, right? We have our 5 senses. But now I want you to think about, okay, as an intuitive, what other senses are open, right? And we think about the knowing and the feeling, but it goes deeper than that. So know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're intuitive, you're empathic, and you can actually use certain systems and certain techniques that will help you manage your own energies. And I know the biggest thing coming up is how to protect yourself and ground yourself. Those are the 2 things that I get asked all the time from empaths, is that they don't know how to protect themselves from other people's energies or ground their energies. So the best thing for you to do is, number 1, in order to protect yourself, and it's because your energy field or the electromagnetic field or biofield, it's all the same thing. It is so expanded, okay, because you're so loving, your heart is so open and you're so compassionate. You expand out so far. Like, one time I did this exercise in one of my classes and we were seeing how far out our energy field was going. I mean, I was walking across the room. I'm like, it just keeps going. I was like, wow. So can we actually be in somebody else's house? Yeah, probably so. So when I'm in the mall, imagine how big my energy field was to feel all of that. But what I want you to do is, and you could do this before you even step out of your home, or any time that you start to feel overwhelmed or uncomfortable and you start feeling like you're getting moody because, here you were happy and now you're just not feeling good, or you have a headache when you go into a social setting. I want you to just imagine this energy field just coming in, your aura just coming in. Okay. And you can close your eyes and do this, and you can just ask your energy field, come in. And if it still feels big, ask it to come in more. And you're going to start to feel tingling, or you might cough, or you might feel energy a different way. It just depends on how you feel energy and how sensitive you are. But you will know, like for me, I feel coolness. When I start to bring my energy field in, I feel the sense of coolness and calmness come over me because I know I'm not so expanded out. So try that. Okay. And then number 2, we talked about grounding. So grounding is tricky. And I know a lot of people, and especially myself, I was taught to imagine a cord coming down into the earth, right? But here's the thing. I want you to imagine you're sitting on soil. Okay. And I want you to imagine that where the first chakra is, it's very close to the sphincter, to the anal sphincter. So what you're going to do is, as you contract your anal sphincter, you're going to imagine that you're taking up the soil. And as you release the anal sphincter, you're picking up more soil and bringing it up into your body. And it's going up through the nervous system. Okay. And you're filling up your cells, you're filling up your body with the soil. And when you feel full, you're going to notice how grounded you feel. You might feel a little heaviness, you might feel a little pressure, or you might feel lighter. But that's how magical grounding can be and how easy it can be. And so I'm just teaching you a different way of doing it because we don't spend enough time in nature, especially in our winter months. So how can we bring it into our mind, into our body a different way and ground ourselves, right? Nobody has to know you're doing this, right?
I love that you're speaking of the imagination. And when it comes to empaths, in my experience, like they have incredible imagination. And that being one of our keys and something that, we're oftentimes pulled out of as children. Like, and as you were speaking, you need to take care of the family, or you need to take on this role. So we're really pulled away from the imagination. I would love to hear the connection between imagination and the empath.
Yeah. So we work from our right brain. right? Because we're so highly intuitive. So that creativity is on. And so we love to imagine, storytell, dream, and we have so many desires, right? But that imagination plays a huge role because even though we might think we're imagining something, it's actually something that is manifesting or will be manifesting. Imagination is a way of asking for things without asking for it. Because remember, I told you about the giving and receiving? Well, it's the same thing with asking. We're so afraid to ask the universe for things that we want because we're afraid that, oh, there's not enough. Everybody else, we want to leave some for them.
Yes.
So we want to take our imagination, and I want you to use your imagination for what you want in your life. Imagination is how Disney created all these beautiful movies, right? And can you be that princess, with a happy ending? Of course you can. Can you have that magical person, soulmate that you desire? Sure you could. That career, the finances, the health that you want. It can happen for you. And I want you to use your imagination to get you there. So being an empath, highly imaginative, take that as a key to your manifestation and making your dreams come true.
Wow, I get this sense of the tools that you've given here of really being able to pull our energy in and being grounded, how we can trust our imagination even more, how we can feel like, oh, wow, this is possible. And I love that you brought up we got to save some for others, that these empathic tendencies that we have to a lot of times think of others before we even think of ourselves. So I get this strong sense of, our gifts. What is possible for an empath that you see is more possible, I should say, for an empath.
Yeah. I feel like, we don't trust ourselves enough. So many times, maybe we have failed and we've been told we were a failure. We've lacked confidence and we lack that power that we really truly have within us. And the fact that we're capable, we are these limitless, boundaryless beings, but we create boundaries on ourselves. We create limits on ourselves. And it's unfortunate that we do that, and that's why our imagination gets stuck. That's why we don't want to be here in this body or on earth. That's why we take ourselves down that dark path of anxiety. I mean, it all starts there, right? Anxiety and then to depression. And then you're having that dark night of the soul experience, maybe, right? But where can we take our imagination to where we're raising our vibration? Right? And really support ourselves because really this journey is alone. And, nobody can be on this journey because it's your journey and you get to create whatever it is that you want. And so I'm going to leave you with that because I want you to know that you are the master creator and having these beautiful abilities and being empathic, you should have no shame in that, no guilt. And you should shine like a diamond.
I love that you're bringing up the diamond here. And when we look at divinity in action, those that are being called forward, the message that you're offering here, to shine, to come forward, to know that your empathy, your love, the connection that you have is a gift. To shift out of this idea of it being a curse, of it being something that is you can't contain or that you can't be around other people. And you really bringing us, tools and understanding that, hey, you can build boundaries that are healthy for you instead of limitations. I think that's a strong message that I'm hearing because it's easy for us to completely guard and pull back. Whereas I'm hearing from everything you're sharing today that we can step forward in a healthy way of really understanding ourselves and allowing ourselves to shine. So thank you so much for that.
It's all about compassion. I want people to understand that we need to be more compassionate towards ourselves because maybe you didn't have that as a child or you didn't have it as a young adult or a teenager or whatever. And we always expect things from other people to show us that, but it's time now. This is the time. People are becoming more conscious, more aware. But we also need to become more compassionate towards ourselves, because that's what's going to help us be more compassionate towards others and understanding towards others, right? What I realize is, as empaths, we sometimes don't understand other people because they're not like us. And they might be more blunt, or they might not listen like the way we do, or they might not do certain things the way we do, or have certain beliefs how we do. But we have to remember, everybody has a story, and nobody's story is the same. And that's why compassion is so important, and you being intuitive so you can tune into that person and really get them. That's our job as empaths. We have this sense of responsibility towards ourselves, number one, and towards other people.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that, returning, bringing us back into compassion and understanding. For me, it's compassion is passing of energy, passing of ion. So, you bringing us back to that. It's about being here first, and that responsibility, because of how intuitive we are and how that can expand, and that willingness. What I'm gathering here is this willingness to be in that compassion allows for that opening and that expansion. So wow, just taking that in, and the tools that you've given here to support all of the empathic, sensitive beings that are here for Divinity in Action. Thank you so much, Dipal, for your loving, caring, compassionate essence being here today. And as we close out, just any last thoughts that you may have for those of us that are being called out right now, where we're feeling that really strong calling, where it's so much easier to hermit.
Yes, it is. It is. I think, embrace the fact that you're an empath, shine your light, be who you are, and you'll find your purpose, your passion, and your truth. There's no reason to hide anymore. We're done with that, and it's time to break free from all those limitations. And you have a lot to offer. You have a lot to give, and keep on, no matter what anybody says. They're going to judge you, whether, good or bad, whatever that means. People are going to judge anyway. So I think just live your life and find your divine bliss, because that's what's going to take you to where you want to go. And I highly encourage you to come and grab your stress-free relief guide and 2 free MP3s at dipalshah.com or anandaforlife.com. That's ANDA, 4 life.com.
Beautiful. Thank you for bringing us to that divine bliss, and for this powerful message that you're leaving us with. May each one of us take that into our hearts and really move forward today, making those choices that are most aligned so that you can fully show up. So much love from my heart to each one of you, wishing you the beautiful unfolding with everything you've received here today. All right. Bye for now. Oh, beautiful hearts, let's take a moment here to breathe into yet another powerful message from our Divinity in Action alchemical movement. I hope you found the teaching shared in this episode to be enlightening and empowering. Also, that you will take space for yourself to work with what was offered for your discovery and growth. Once again, I invite you to unlock your divinity through the wisdom of our speakers, and to harness this beautiful energy to your benefit that will increase abundance, clarity, and freedom in every aspect of your life. By experiencing Divinity in Action, we will break free from past programming and conditioning and fully embody our true selves.